the topic and the Access Consciousness tools, because these tools have transformed my life. Like, nothing is the same. Nothing is the same. I'm so much greater and so much happier and so much wealthier and so much everything. And I call this week's episode One-on-One with Me, What's It Like? Now, I don't actually know how many people are wondering about this, but I thought I would talk about it. I don't actually have or keep a lot of testimonials around from people that have worked with me one-on-one. I have more testimonials around of what it's like to be in a group class or a coaching program with me. Hi, Nancy. So I thought I would change that, and I'm doing some conversations with some people who've definitely worked with me one-on-one, so you'll see those on my page. And this show, I wanted to have this in the archives so that any of you who are considering really changing your life, or just giving me money, that's okay too, would have a sense of what it could create for you. So I did something sort of cool, I think, and instead of just sitting here and talking about myself for, hi Loretta, hi Nancy, instead of just sitting here talking about myself for 30 minutes, which I guess I could do, I actually asked the people that are working with me one-on-one right now, I gave them some questions and I had them write back. So I am going to use their words to riff on this and give you a sense. And at the end, if you guys hang out and go to the end of the episode, or if you're listening to this in the future, I'm so glad, Nancy. I can't wait to meet you. What am I trying to say? I am actually going to, before we end, so like 10 minutes before we end, 5 minutes, I am going to give you the tools that I used to pick my first big choice in a coach. And I've told this story before, but I will give you the tools so that if this is something that you're looking at, you can use those. Okay? Okay. So these are the questions I asked. I was like, what's it like? Can you guys tell me, those of you that have worked with me one-on-one, what's it like to work with me? What's the scariest thing about it? What's the best thing about it? And what made you choose it? And what's the biggest change you've seen so far? And here is the first, I haven't even read these yet, so I'm reading these on camera. This lady, I'm like, should I use their names? I will. Miss Donna K wrote back and she said, okay, the scariest thing is the best thing. You don't hold punches. You won't let us get by with lying to ourselves. You call our bluff. But truthfully, that is the best part as well. And that is why we are here to have you and each other hold us accountable. I chose it because it was time to up level, and I hadn't made myself do it before. The biggest change I've seen so far is money. I always have money now. Donna! Now that's amazing. Like, I haven't read these yet. The biggest change I've seen so far is money. I always have money now. It now comes in regularly instead of in cycles. But the other thing is that I'm choosing to get out there now. I'm working on that more consistent part of it, but I'm glad I chose to work with you, Christel. I've followed you for a couple years now, and I've seen the changes and the growth you've made in your business, and I knew I needed more of whatever energy that was. Thank you for helping me look at and choose the scariest things and creating a group of powerful creators who support each other. These are gonna make me cry on camera. I think that's, more of whatever energy that was. So about a week ago, I am constantly like growing and changing. Hi, Catherine. And so in the last 2 months, there's been a lot up for me. And if you guys have been in my little 14-day series, you've heard about it. So I've been really actively like looking at like, what's it gonna take to change this? There's been a lot of reaction. And so it all kind of came to a head pretty dynamically about a week ago. And I couldn't sleep, and I just knew that I fucking needed a private session. And if I didn't get one, I wasn't gonna be able to change this as quickly. So I messaged Shannon O'Hara, and it's so interesting when I choose the person I work with one-on-one, I choose the person I know will be able to like arrow to the heart of whatever it is that I'm doing and get me to look at it. Because I know that if I can face whatever I'm actually doing instead of my judgment about what I'm doing, that something will be unlocked and I will be able to like fly after that. So I chose Shannon O'Hara, and I literally just was like, deep space for a session. She said yes. I was like, here's $500 for 30 minutes. And that 30 minutes like rocket shipped me into a place that I just couldn't have gotten to on my own. So that thing of like, I knew I needed more of whatever energy that was. That's the thing I'd like to invite you guys to look at when it comes to working with anybody, and obviously looking at inviting you to work with me, is the energy that you're aware of in my world, would it create more for you? Every single person that I've talked to that works with me is like making more money, they're happier, and none of them had the money to start with. None of them had it, and I didn't. Again, I'll wait till the end to sort of tell my own story, but what they got out of the energy that was contributed, the presence of the facilitation actually skyrocketed them into what they could choose next. So cool. Okay. All right. So this next one, I haven't read this either. I literally forced myself not to read these till today. Ava is still working with me one-on-one. She said, working one-on-one with you feels safe to me. It's like I can open up and talk about anything. I can ask any question. The scariest thing, I love that I asked that. The scariest thing is that you might say something that I don't want to, yet so need to hear. It's also the most liberating thing. I chose to work with you one-on-one for the same reason, actually. I needed someone to show me. The biggest change I've seen so far is the momentum. I used to break it before. Now I'm consistently showing up more. I'm adding new things to my business. I'm trying new things, even when I don't want to, even when I feel terribly wrong and awful. Working with you is giving me the support and the inspiration and the ideas and the energy and sometimes the push that I need. Yeah, wow. And I always choose, I have in my life about 2 people right now that I consistently meet with as well, one-on-one. And one of them is an access facilitator, and we swap sessions. So like once a week, we just like session each other, and literally we just show up. And here's how an access session works, or at least for me. It's so rainy. We'll show up on Zoom, and I will be there. I'll be there. That's the shocking part. And the first thing you'll hear me say is, okay, if you could get anything out of this session, what would it be? And there's always an energy there. And many, many times there's words. And I have people that come into sessions and they have like lists of things they want to talk about. And sometimes we get to the things on the list. But when I ask that question, what happens is you and I get present with what's there. And what's so fascinating is that energy will lead us to and through the thing that's actually going to give you the most freedom that day. So anyway, so I have a person that I meet with once a week. We session each other. And then I have another person who's a really incredible entrepreneur that we strategy sessions. So we bounce business ideas off of each other like once a week, basically, once every 2 weeks. But I find that if I don't have that one-on-one energy in my world of different people, that it doesn't move, like things don't move as well. So I have always had that. Okay, here's from Patty. This is what it's like to work with me. Okay. Oh my God, this is why I said I'm getting vulnerable today. Working with you is being in front of a fiercely magical mirror. So you're noticing a theme. There's fierceness, there's cutting through the bullshit. Yes. Working with you is being in front of a fiercely magical mirror. The one you are looking for, who will ask you questions and will answer you in such a strange way that your head will not understand, and that all of you are ready to receive such a great change. It will be the most honest, powerful, audacious, and fierce information that you require, because the person who stood in front of the mirror was me. The most terrifying thing is that you do not know what happened. You don't understand anything, and in the same moment, she took your hand in the most generous way to enter that place of vulnerability and not collapse at the end of the session and continue with yourself without running away from you. Whew. What I would have given for that in my life, and I'm so grateful that I have that now. The best thing about this is that what I chewed for years to see and understand realize that she does not allow you to make it significant. And with a huge smile and her big energetic presence, smiles and says, cool, never mind. Then dare to be what you're avoiding and be phenomenal. Do what you enjoy. The biggest change I've seen so far is that I'm willing to be everything that I tried so hard not to be. I've cultivated my confidence in 12 months. And in this time, I began to feel more me, to recognize me amplifying my dreams and making them come true. It's like choosing, and creating everything doesn't seem is something great in the future. To recognize all the multitasking that I am and take the stage of my life to change the world, changing my world. But this thing, you know, and listen, these ladies that I've worked with, I have such a privileged position because you guys let me in. I'm just gonna fuck with my hair while I cry. You guys let me into your life, and you know, I get to facilitate you being you. And I'm like, I can't think of a greater honor. There's literally nothing I like better. So I forget who I was talking to the other day, but it was like, I don't know what we were talking about. I think we were just talking about different business possibilities and a blah, blah, thing. And I was like, yeah, there's other things I'm interested in, but honestly, like facilitating consciousness, facilitating people into being more of them is like literally my favorite thing to do on the planet. And what I love about one-on-one work is the intimacy that you and I get to have around what you're choosing, where you want to go, what's possible for you. And so yeah, so like I've watched Pat in the last 12 months that I worked with Patty, I have watched her go from in an unhappy marriage to like thriving, like starting a business from scratch and starting a new life, and that she is not the only one. Like that is that's more common. Like finally taking her life and actually creating it in a way that actually works. And like, cause who tells you about that? And that's what I've done with these tools is I've taken, you guys, if you've followed me for any length of time, you've watched it, right? Like I've taken these tools and just gone, okay, let's create this. And then I created it. And then I got to see what it was like. And then I'm like, okay, well, that was cool. Now let's create something totally different. And then sold all my shit and drove out into the boonies and like tried a bunch of different things. And, so when you choose somebody to work with you, you're choosing a different reality for yourself, or you're just giving them money, which is okay too. I've done that too. Do you know how many people that I've just paid $1,000 for a course and like never done it? But I actually think that that's what's different about choosing one-on-one coaching is like you have to show up. And I'll just segue now into my story about my very first big choice for a coach. She messaged me out of the blue and she was just like, hey, I do this with people. Are you interested? And I was like, yes. So we got onto Skype and we were talking about it. And when she told me her price and how much she costs, I got sweaty because she cost as much as I was making every month. It was like, they were exactly the same. So I didn't have the money. But what I did, and one of the tools that I always use, and one of the tools I encourage everybody to use is if I choose this, what will my life and my business be like in 5 years? And literally it was so fucking blatant. Like if you paid attention to energy, it just went like, same was when I bought my first Mercedes. It just like the energy went like, it whooshed out. It was so expansive. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I just, just to sort of double, triple, quadruple check, I was like, okay, so how much will my income increase, 5 times, 10 times, 100 times? And it was like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. So I looked at that and I was like, well, I don't have the money. Is there any other way for me to get the money? And I literally kind of pulled energy from everywhere like I do when I'm having something and I just don't know how, but I just pulled from everywhere. And a person popped into my head and I just messaged her and I was like, okay, this is a long shot, but is there any chance that you'd be willing to lend me this money? And she was willing. She was willing. Literally, I created the money to choose this person in like 2 days. So we started, and I guess the key tools in all of that is that you're never going to be ready for the thing that's going to change your life forever. Never. And this video could actually be, the same. You could watch this video and obtain the same information for choosing foundation or choosing any of the bigger access classes or any of that. You're never going to be ready. You're never just going to have like money sitting around that's just waiting to throw at a coach, right? So every choice that's going to expand your reality, like beyond what you could ever imagine, is going to feel scary, uncomfortable, out of your comfort zone so far you don't even know where to find your comfort zone. It's going to have all those sensations to it. It's probably going to make you sweat. It's going to be scare-siding. And because I've done it so many times now, and so now I really recognize the choices that are going to catapult me, because they all have that same sensation to them. And they're all those choices are going to ask you to stretch. And part of the reason for my pricing is that invitation to stretch. It's also fun for me, which is another facet of creating your pricing in a way that's fun for you. It honors me, but it also honors you. It honors what I'm inviting you to. It honors you to stretch, to really choose. And like when I bought my session with Shannon O'Hara the other day, it was $500 for 30 minutes. And I looked at that, I had the money. And I was like, ooh, that's an uncomfortable price. Yes, because I'm so now practiced. I wasn't, but I'm now so practiced in going, okay, the choices that are going to expand my life the most are usually the ones I want to resist, run away from, make me uncomfortable and make me sweat. Okay, cool. So instead of running away from them now, I lean forward and go, okay, what's it going to take? Now that's tool number 3 or 5. But what is it going to take for this to work? And probably tool 4 is the pull. Like when you're never going to know how a choice is going to be possible for you ever with your brain. But energetically, you can be the pull that tugs it into your world. And that's a conversation about need and tug. It's like, I need this. When I met with that coach, I was like, I fucking knew. I knew in all of my being that I needed this. And what was interesting for me is that I actually only ended up working with her for half the time that we agreed to. But that half the time showed me so many things. I 6 times my income. I learned that I realized I'm actually a better coach than she is. Like I had so much information. I created my own program. I up-leveled in every way, but it's not that I up-leveled into things that I wasn't already. It's I up-leveled into being as great as I actually am. And that's what I see with all these ladies that work with me. Right now it's only ladies, but what would it take for more men? And ladies, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. If you're ready, let's go. That's what I see. That's what I see. I see them blooming into all that they are. You can only have problems when you're not being you. And yet, what is it that's going to catapult you, catalyze you into being all that you are? What is it? What's next? And many, many times the choices that are going to do that are out of order. Most of the time they're out of order. They're not at the time you thought they would be, at the time you would have the money, or when you thought that would work out. Like they don't follow a pattern. They just show up because you've been asking for something, and it's a change that shows up in a totally different way. And so when you know that you need it, you need that energy, you need this choice, you don't have, first of all, don't justify it to yourself. Don't try to explain it to yourself or anybody else. Just get that you need it. That need is going to create the tug for however that money is going to show up. But in that need, there's a choice. It's like, okay, I'm having this. Now, what the fuck is it going to take? And you start pulling from all over the universe. Stuff's going to show up. When you become that willing to show up for yourself and pull from all over and create whatever it takes, stuff will show up. And so, yeah, so I chose that lady. I'd say it's interesting how that choice ended, because it didn't end necessarily happily, which is not my favorite story to tell. I'd rather tell you like we got married and we had babies and we lived happily ever after. But it was one of the most catalytic choices for me ever in my life so far, which is fascinating to me because it doesn't matter how a choice turns out even. If you know it's going to create more for you, follow that always. Always. And your life will always get greater. You will always have more of you. So you are invited to work with me. Always. And most especially as of the filming of this video, I opened up sessions on the 5th of September. So you can book yourself in. I think I put the link above my head. If you're seeing this in the future, you go to my website, crystaljoycrawford.com and go to the top bar, and there's a coaching thing there, and you can sign up for a discovery session there. But my bigger invitation to you is, what would it take for you to trust that you know? What would it take for you to risk that you can? That you are. I wonder what your life would be like. So share this with a friend if you know they need it, and I will see you guys next week.